Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here. Welcome to my new course that I have developed called Intro to IT for Computer Users. And I decided to make this course because I think that there is a dearth in the services that are provided by the government. So I'm making this free course so anybody who speaks English can freely access the course. And if somebody knows how to translate the course from English into other languages, then they can use the course then as well. The reason why I'm making the course is because my boyfriend, who is not IT literate, I've known him for 11 years now, more than 11 years. And so basically what happened when I first met him, I tried to get him to go to Learn Direct in our town to take computer courses and Learn Direct in our town to help him. And he basically said that if he took these computer courses and Learn Direct in our town, that he wouldn't be able to work. And he also said that if he'd taken courses in the past and he was no good at them and it was awful. Now, I'm not sure exactly if he just said that just to fob me off, just to shut me up, just to get me to go away, or if he really did take courses in the past. But so I dropped it. I let the matter drop when he said that he'd taken courses in the past and he was no good at it and he couldn't do it, and he tried his best but he couldn't do it. But then what happened was a couple of years ago, the government changed their policy. So before about 2 years ago, um, my boyfriend was on something called working tax credits, and he was able to get his housing allowance and somewhere in the neighborhood, £50 a week working tax credit, and whatever money that he was able to make delivering leaflets, cleaning, and reselling items on eBay and Vinted. But about 2 years ago, the government changed their policy and they decided that they were going to do away with working tax credits, which meant my boyfriend had to go onto Universal Credit. And when he went onto Universal Credit, they made him sign up at the job center. So what the government did was they changed the goalpost. And so they made him sign up at the job center. And basically what he had been doing before wasn't good enough for the government. And the government told him that he had to get a job making 400 and something pounds a week. And he had a year to do it. And so my boyfriend was put in a really difficult situation, and it's not anything that my boyfriend did wrong. He was complying with what the government wanted, but then the government changed what they wanted. And so as a result of that, he had to start applying for jobs again, which he hadn't done in years. My boyfriend hadn't applied for jobs in years and years and years because he'd been getting working tax credits, which is what he was allowed to do under the old government regime. And then so when he was in, I helped him with everything. I helped my boyfriend with his income and expenses every year because he had to submit his income and expenses every year to HMRC, that's His Majesty's Revenue and Custom, and I helped him do all of his income and expenses, and I helped my boyfriend a lot. And I wanted my boyfriend to do so much more with IT than what he was doing, because we went and he bought a computer, but he could barely use it. And I wasn't pressuring my boyfriend to take computer courses, because he told me he couldn't do it, that he'd taken courses in the past and it was no good, it was awful, he just couldn't do it. So I didn't pressure him because of what he told me. And then after my boyfriend was with the job center for a year, then the job center sent him to this charity called FedCap. And so basically, instead of being harassed by the job center and being told that he wasn't good enough, that everything he was doing wasn't good enough, now he was being harassed by the job center and FedCap. And I looked at FedCap up on the internet, and FedCap is a charity that's supposed to help people improve their employability. And so basically, they're supposed to give people training and help them with their employability. One thing that FedCap did was they helped my boyfriend get an up-to-date passport, because he didn't have an up-to-date passport, so they did pay for that. But they didn't send my boyfriend to any courses, specifically IT courses, even though they knew he was weak on IT. In fact, my boyfriend told them that he wanted to be self-employed, but because of the government has changed their goalpost, changed what they wanted to do, it's not really feasible for my boyfriend to be self-employed, because he has to be able to earn more than £400 a week. And so, they told him that he could still continue to get his universal credit, and he had to submit his income and expenses to the DWP every month. And but basically what would happen is, well, he was still allowed to be self-employed, but he was supposed to be looking for full-time employment while he was self-employed. But FedCap, which on their own website says that they provide education, didn't educate my boyfriend. And at one point, they told him that he was going to have to go into FedCap and use their computers for something. And they did send him on a confidence building course, but they didn't send him on any IT courses. And the thing is that during this year that my boyfriend was under FedCap, his job coach told him that he had to make a spreadsheet in Google Sheets and a CV in Google Docs, even though he didn't have any training on Google Sheets or Google Docs. He never had any spreadsheet training. He never had any word processing training. Well, it just so happens that Microsoft Office is the industry standard, so they should have told him that he could make a spreadsheet on Excel and a CV in Word, and he could use OneDrive to do that, because OneDrive gives you free scaled down version of Google Docs. Sorry, it's free scaled down version of Microsoft Office package. And you don't, when you're using OneDrive, you don't get all of the bells and whistles with Microsoft Office that you would get if you were actually paying for it, but you do get a scaled down version. Well, this particularly irritated me that FedCap told my boyfriend he had to do this, because number one, they didn't give him any IT training, which he needed, and they didn't tell him that he had to get IT training. And another thing is, they didn't tell him that he had to take an online course on IT training. So how hard would it be for FedCap to design an online IT course for people who are not IT literate. And so I already had a CV for my boyfriend, and I had taken a really old CV that he had made a long time ago, and I had put it on Microsoft Word. And so he already had the CV, and then we had to put that on OneDrive. I had to email it to him. And then I had to make a spreadsheet for my boyfriend for his reselling business. And then, so I got my boyfriend to the point to where he was able to enter data into a spreadsheet that already had been made. And so I made this spreadsheet in Microsoft Excel, and I saved it in OneDrive. And then so my boyfriend just carried on with FedCap, and towards the end of the year, because he was only with FedCap for a year, towards the end of the year he changed leaflet delivery companies. And because he changed leaflet delivery companies, I made a spreadsheet for his leaflet distribution. And the reason for that is because he was going to be required to send this leaflet distribution company an email every week to tell them how many leaflets he delivered and what streets he delivered those leaflets on. And the best way to do that was to keep all of this information in a spreadsheet. So by this time, my boyfriend has two spreadsheets that he has to use. He has one spreadsheet for his reselling business, and then he has a second spreadsheet for his leaflet distribution business. And he keeps the spreadsheets on OneDrive. And then so in his very last appointment with FedCap, they gave him an assessment. And then in this assessment, they assessed that he was weak on IT. So FedCap had a whole year, they had a whole year to determine that he was weak on IT. They had a whole year to send him on an IT course. He could have been on an in-person IT course, or he could have taken an online IT course. I mean, how difficult is it to take an online IT course? And this really particularly irritated me because FedCap knew he was weak on IT, and they waited a whole year on his very last meeting to say something. And I thought to myself, well, I could do that. I could get a lesson plan for IT and make an IT course. And I decided that since FedCap couldn't or wouldn't design an IT course for my boyfriend, and they couldn't or wouldn't send him on an IT course or make him take an online IT course, I decided that I'm going to make an online IT course. Now, 12 years ago, when I was looking for a job, I went to this place called Learn Direct, and it was in the town that I live in. And that's what I had wanted my boyfriend to do when I first met him. And he said that he couldn't take courses because he was no good at it. But they don't have Learn Direct in the town I live in anymore. And the reason why is because the people in the UK voted for the UK to leave the European Union. And although I didn't know this, I have been told that Learn Direct was an EU-funded initiative. And so when the people voted to leave the EU, then Learn Direct lost their funding in the town I live in, and so that meant Learn Direct moved out. And I really liked Learn Direct a lot. I thought it was a very good service to help people take courses and get back into employment. And so because the UK moved out of the EU, in which I voted for that as well, we don't have any more Learn Direct. So we don't have a place in the town I live in where people can actually go and take computer courses. And as a result of that, because of FedCap let my boyfriend down. There's no more Learn Direct in the town that I live in. I decided I was going to make my own IT course. So this is the Intro to IT course. It's totally free. Anybody who is on YouTube can take the course. So this is what you're going to learn if you decide to take my course. Number one is the first chapter or the first lesson is what is IT and why does it matter? The second lesson is understanding your computer at the user level. The third lesson is operating systems and everyday software. The fourth lesson is the internet and how it works for users. The fifth lesson is cloud computing for everyday users. The sixth lesson is cybersecurity for everyday users. The seventh lesson is digital communication and collaboration. And the eighth lesson is troubleshooting basics for computer users. So you may wonder, what are my qualifications to actually design this IT course? Well, my qualifications to design this IT course are the fact that I have been a computer user for more than 40 years now. The very first computer that I ever bought was a Commodore 64, and then I bought it for my now ex-husband, but I don't think he ever used it. And then the second computer I ever got was a Commodore 128. And so I learned how to do some basic programming on a Commodore 128. And then the third computer that I ever had was an IBM compatible computer, because at that point, and that was more than 30 years ago, more like 35 years ago, IBM, when people got computers, they wanted to get an IBM compatible computer. So that is what was the range. And then the fourth computer that I ever bought was an IBM compatible laptop, which was more like a box. It's nothing like the laptops that you have today. And then I moved to the UK and I started buying computers in the UK. I bought a computer layout that was used to help me in my writing projects and in my employment projects and things like that. And then after I bought that computer layout, I bought a laptop at John Lewis, and it was a really expensive laptop. It was over 1,000 pounds, and it was a heavy, bulky device as well. And then after I had that laptop in 2014, I found myself looking for work, and I wanted to take an SAP course. And so I had to have a laptop for an SAP course. So I bought a notebook. And then I used that notebook for several years until around 2000 during the pandemic, and I bought a Chromebook. Well, the Chromebook went faulty within 6 months, and then I had to have the Chromebook repaired because it was still under warranty. But because I needed another computer to use while my Chromebook was being repaired, I bought this laptop that I'm using right now to make this course and to make this video. And it just so happens that I've been paying for Microsoft Office ever since 2014, when I found myself needing work. And so then it dawned on me that it was better that I get a Windows computer so I can run my Microsoft Office on a Windows computer, because you can't run Microsoft Office on a Chromebook. You can run OneDrive on a Chromebook, which has a scaled down version of Microsoft Office. But I was not able to get my Microsoft Office on a Chromebook. And so that's one thing that I found out whenever I was buying these new computers, because all the computers that I had previously, when previous to and including the netbook, were standalone computers. But then as more and more data and bandwidth became available, then more and more services were put on the cloud. So for me personally, I still have my old Chromebook and I still use it. But for me personally, if going forward, I'm going to buy Windows compatible computers so I can make sure that my Microsoft Office is installed on those Windows compatible computers. And the reason for that is because I'm paying for Microsoft Office. So you may ask yourself, well, what is the goal of this course? Well, so the goal of this course, for the perspective of my boyfriend, is to make him more employable, to help him get a job. And then one thing that you need to know is it doesn't matter what job you have in this modern world, you need to be IT literate, because now, like my boyfriend, he has a business reselling items, and he also delivers leaflets. So on this business reselling items, he has to use websites called eBay and Vinted, and he has to be able to use the computer and his smartphone to use those sites. And then for his leaflet distribution work at the moment, what he's doing at the moment is he has to keep a record of all the leaflets that he's delivered. So I designed a spreadsheet for him that one has the date that he was paid for the work, or is intended to be paid for the work, the date, or whether he was paid for the work, or the date he's intended to be paid for the work, the date that he delivered the leaflets, how many leaflets he delivered, and the streets that he delivered leaflets on. And then so basically what he has to do is every week he has to cut and paste that information onto an email and send that email to the leaflet distribution company. And then he has to go into the leaflet the sales office, and they make the invoice, and so he signs the invoice, but then they send him a remittance advice, and they pay him every 2 weeks, and he has to send emails to the leaflet distribution company regarding the leaflets that he has distributed, and also if he has any questions regarding his payment. In addition to that, because he's on Universal Credit is online now, so you have to have a computer or a tablet at the very least, or a smartphone, to be able to access Universal Credit website. And then so he has to go onto the website and input his income and expenses for the month, and then they send him messages. He has to go and look at the messages that he has been sent. And for me personally, I have to pay council tax. And so I have to go onto a website to pay my council tax every month. So in this modern world, everybody, it doesn't matter whether they're employed or not employed, it doesn't matter what kind of job they do, they need to be IT literate, because now the government services and commercial services and recruiters. They all do everything over a website. And that's completely different than it was when I first came to the UK 33 years ago. Because if you needed a job, you would walk into an agency would give you an aptitude test, an agency would prepare a CV for you, an agency would send your CV out to prospective employers, and an agency did all that for you. But it doesn't work like that anymore. Now you have to be very proactive and you have to do it all yourself. So I've told you the purpose of this course and what you're going to learn in this course and why you need to learn this course. So I do hope that you decide to take this free course. You don't have to pay 1 penny for it. The only thing that you have to give up is your time to watch the videos. So I look forward to you watching the other videos that I make to complete this course, which I have written the course in Microsoft Word and put it into a PowerPoint presentation, which you are looking at a slideshow right now. So good luck, and I hope you get some meaningful insight out of this course that I have created.